Welcome to my kcse division channel, Marita, World Space School. Kindly subscribe, click the notification bell such that you get notified once I upload a new video. Today we are looking at kcse division mathematics for 2 work or form 3, and our topic is about further logarithms. So we have a question here that in kcse 1992, without using logarithm tables. So without using logarithm tables, solve for x in the equation, and the equation here is, so we have this is log, we have log, then we have this is 11 over 2 plus 2, then we have log 4 all over 11 minus, in this case we have log 5 all over 22, in this case here, and this one will be equivalent to 2, then we have log 4 minus log x. So in this case, we are supposed to solve for x. Solving for x, it means here, we find the value of x here in this case. So first of all, you need to check whether the problem contains the logarithm. If the problem contains the logarithm, you are supposed to drop that logarithm. So another thing that you are supposed to check, we have our main operation, where we have the addition. Addition will change into multiplication. Then we have subtraction sign will normally change into division. So our main operation here, if we identify the main operations here, so we have this addition, which will change into multiplication. Then we have this division, which will change. We have this subtraction sign, which will change into division. Then of course we have around the 3 operations here. So we have addition here, we have subtraction here, then we have another subtraction there. So you need to check whether the problem contains the same logarithm, and at the same time, in this case, you work on this operation. So looking at this question, in the first case, the problem contains the logarithm. So we have log 11 over 2, this is log. Then we have another logarithm here, we have another logarithm there, so we have another logarithm there. So what is normally done, just to drop those logarithms. So to drop the logarithm, at the same time performing the operation here, we can have this one as 11 over 2. So we have 11 over 2 in this case here. This one is multiplied by. So these two here, it will just become a power of 4 all over 11. So we transform these two, and then it becomes the power here. So this one we can write as 4 all over 11, and then this one here raised by 2. I have transferred these two from here. So this one now, this subtraction will normally change into division. So here we are dividing by 5. So we divide by 5 all over 22, which will be equivalent to, on the other side here, we have these 2. 2 will just become 4 to power 2. So this 2 becomes a power here. Then we can have this one as 4 raised to 2, and then this one will normally change into division. We divide this one by x. So you divide this one by x. That is simply how you can do that kind of transformation. So you check that there is log here, there is logarithm here, there is logarithm there, there is logarithm there. So the problem contains the logarithm. Moreover, what do we do? We just drop the logarithm, as I have dropped it now. At the same time now, you check on the operation. We have this addition sign, it has changed into multiplication, and then we have these two becomes these two here, 2 log 4 over 11. We can transform this two, and then it becomes a power here. So we have 4 all over 11 to power 2, these two there. Then now this minus, it has changed into division. So the division here is just divide by 5 all over 22, which will be equivalent to, this also becomes a power there, and then we divide that one by x. So let us work on this side first. So if we can work here, we have as 11 all over 2 times, in this case we have 4 squared is giving us 16, 11 squared is giving us 121. That is what we have. So we have 121. So this one here, it can divide here 8 times. Then we have 11 here, it can divide this one here 11 times. So from this one here, this one will be equivalent to 8 all over 11. This 8 all over 11, it is again divided by 5 all over 22. So we divide this one by 5 all over 2. So we know when we are dealing with the division of fractions, we normally find the reciprocal of this one, and the division sign will normally change into multiplication. So what we have here is, we can have 8 all over 11. This one now will change, the division sign will change into multiplication. So we multiply this one here, then we find the reciprocal of that. This one is giving us 22 all over 5. So from here we have, this is 1, and of course that one is 2. So 8 times 2 is giving us 16, and 1 times 5 is giving us 5. So from the left hand side, what we have here is 6 all over 5. So we have this one as 16 all over 5, which will be equivalent to, now on this side we have 4 squared is giving us 16, and of course now you divide this one by, you divide that one by x. So simply to get the value of x here is just 2 plus multiplication. So what do we have? X times 16, we have this is as 16x, which will be equivalent to 5 times 16. So we have this one as 5 times 16. So from here to have the value of x, you divide this one by 16, and then you divide this one by 16, 16 and 16, 16 and 16, the value of x is equivalent to 5. So the main thing you are supposed to check is normally where we have the addition will change into multiplication, the division sign will change, the subtraction sign will change into division, and you check if the problem contains the same logarithm. If the problem contains the same logarithm all over, then you are supposed to drop that logarithm. This question is kcse paper 2, 1992. So this one is kcse 1992. So we can look at another question here, that find the value of x that satisfies the equation. So the value of x that satisfies the equation, our equation is we have this one as a log of, this is x plus 5. We have x plus 5, which will be equivalent to, we have this one as log 4, then minus, we talk of log, this case we have x plus, this is x plus 2. So you can get this one as kcse, this is 2000. You get that question as kcse 2000. So you need to find the value of x, the value of x that satisfies, the value of x that satisfies the equation. So what you need to understand here, that where do we have the main operation? So the main operation is just, it is subtraction. So the subtraction sign will just change into division. Then you check if the problem contains the same logarithm. If the problem contains the same logarithm all over, then you are supposed to drop that logarithm. So in this case, we have log in x plus 5, and then we have this is log 4 minus, in this case, log into x plus 2. So the problem contains the same logarithm. So let us drop the logarithm at the same time performing the working on the main operation. So what we have here is dropping the logarithm at the same time performing on the operations we have. This is as x plus 5. So we have this one as x plus 5, which will be equivalent to, we have now this one will be 4. We remain here with the 4. This here will just change, it will just change into division. So we divide this one by, in this case, x plus, we divide it by x plus 2. So what do we have? We can put this one over 1. Then we say 1 times 4 is giving us 4. So we can have this one as 4 is equivalent to, that is 1 times 4 is equivalent to px, in this case plus 5, times, we have this is in this case x plus 2. That is what we have. So if we can work out on this one here, on this side first, we have on this side that we have this is x into this is x plus 2. In this case, x into x plus 2. Then plus we have this is 5. In that case, we have this is x plus 2. So what do we have here? So if we open here, we can have this one as x squared, then plus in this case 2x, plus in this case 5x, then in this case plus 10. That is what we have. So we can work out on this one here. So we have this one as x squared, then plus in this case 7x, then we have plus 10, and of course we have this one as 4 is equivalent to that. So we can form the quadratic equation from here. So we can form the quadratic equation from here. We can have this 10 minus 4. 10 minus 4 will remain with the 6, also on this side will remain with the 0. So we can have this one as x squared plus in this case 7x, in this case now plus 6, which will be equivalent to 0. So in that case now, there are several formulas you can use. Finding here the value of x, you can use the completing square method, you can use the quadratic formula, or you can use the sum and the product. In this case here now, the quadratic formula is the easiest, so if you can apply the quadratic formula here, then you say the value of x will be equivalent to p minus p plus or minus, so we can have a square root of p squared minus 4ac, and then everything here you divide it by 2a. What happens here now? From this equation here, the coefficient of x squared is 1. So it means our a is equivalent to 1, then p is equivalent to the coefficient of x, which is equivalent to 7, and of course c is equivalent to 6. So if you substitute the value of a, the value of p, the value of c in this quadratic equation there, you get that the value of x is equivalent to, x is equivalent to negative 1, x is equivalent to negative 1, or x is equivalent to negative 6. So what did you normally do? That to check find the value of x that satisfies the equation, you have to substitute. Where there is x here in this equation, you put negative 1. And if the right hand side will be equivalent to the left hand side, then the value of x here, which is negative 1, it qualifies to satisfy the equation. If you substitute where there is x here is negative 6. So where there is x, you put a negative x6. So the right hand side will be if the right hand side will be equivalent to the left hand side, then negative 6 will just qualify to the value will qualify to be the value of x. Now we look at the last question. So in our last question we have, find the value of x that satisfies the equation. And our equation here we have, so we have our equation here, which is log 2x minus 11 minus, we talk of log 2, which will be equivalent to, this one is log 3 in this case, minus log x. So check if the problem contains the logarithm. So if the problem contains the logarithm, then we are supposed to drop the logarithm. So in this case, we have log into 2x minus 11. Then we have log 2, which will be equivalent to log 3 minus log x. So what is here? The problem contains the logarithm. So if the problem contains the logarithm, we are supposed to drop the logarithm and at the same time working on the main operation. The main operation is here we have this subtraction sign which will change into division. Then again we have another subtraction sign on this side which will change into division. So we can drop the logarithm and at the same time performing the operation. We can have this one as 2x. So we have this one as 2x in this case minus 11. That is it. We are dividing this one. The operation here we divide this one by 2. So we have dropped this log, we have dropped this log. And the operation here is a subtraction which will change into division, which will be equivalent to, we drop this one here, we remain with 3. Working on this operation, which is a subtraction, this one will just change, we divide that one by x. So if we divide that one by x also, cross multiplication, we can have that this one x into 2x minus 11, that case, which will be equivalent to 2 in this case times 6. So we have this one as 2x squared minus in this case 11x, which will be equivalent to, that one will be equivalent to 12. So if that one will be equivalent to 12, we can now if that one will be equivalent to 12. So we can have this one is equivalent. No, it is 2 times 3. So we have this one as 2 times 3, such that we can have this one here as 6. So we form a quadratic equation where we have 2x squared minus 11x. We transform this 6 from this side, so we subtract 6, and in that case is equivalent to 0. So from here, we just use the quadratic formula, which is the easiest. So from here you say x is equivalent to p plus minus p. So we have minus p plus or minus, and then we have this as a square root of p squared, then minus 4ac, and then we divide this one by 2a. So what do we have? The value of a here is equivalent to 2. So we have this 2, which is equivalent to a. Then we have p is negative 11. So we have p, which is equals to negative 11. And then we have c, which is equivalent to negative 6. So if you substitute the value of a, the value of p, the value of c in this quadratic equation, you will get that x is equivalent to 6, or in this case, our x is equivalent to negative 0.5. So what do you normally do? You test where there is 6, you substitute, where there is x, you substitute the value of, you substitute this value. So when kuna x, unaweka 6. And if the right hand side will be equivalent to the left hand side, then x, which is equivalent to 6, satisfies the equation. If you substitute where there is x, you substitute negative 0.5, you will get that the right hand side will not be equivalent to the left hand side. In that case now, negative 0.5 will not be qualified to satisfy the equation. So in this case here, this one is ignored. So this one is normally ignored. This one is ignored. So the value which satisfies the equation here is just x will be equivalent to 6. So the main thing you are supposed to understand in this logarithm is you check whether the problem contains the same logarithm. After checking if the problem contains the same logarithm, then you check the main operation. Where there is division, where there is addition sign will change into multiplication sign. Division sign the subtraction sign will change into division, and so on. So those are the many things that you are supposed to understand when dealing with these questions on logarithms. We have come to the end of our lesson. Kindly follow my channel, click the notification bell such that you get notified once I upload a new video. Thank you for watching.